Okay, welcome to Stampscapes Live. I'm going to try to do a quick card version of this piece now that I kind of got my bearings on working on Vellum again after that one piece yesterday. Quick card, so let me get moving here. We're going to stamp out some of these birch trees. The birch trees are just an awesome option for Vellum just because of the potential with the whiteout capabilities of the surface itself, being that it is see-through. All right. Now working on the Vellum, you can use a STAZN. I'm just going to use a water-based Brilliance ink because I can easily clean it off, and I don't have to clean it off like instantly. Hello, Debbie. How are you this evening? Okay, so going with the birch trees, let's mix it up a little bit from yesterday's video. I'll put the larger ones on the right-hand side. I mean, we can do these ones on both sides. Why don't we do that? Let's just mix it up here a little bit. Maybe I'll use the smaller ones in the background. I'm not sure. Okay. And this is going to be on the mirror card format, so, well, it should, in theory, take longer, right? But to show you that these can go pretty fast, well, we'll see if I can make it in that quick card format. Quick cards, I tend to think, about like a half an hour. Now, a really fast card would be much faster, but I mean, we're getting a lot of technique in this one in that span of time. Oops. I need to go and wash off my brush. I'll do it right here. All right. I'm losing time here. Hello, Kay. Linda. Linda B. will say that, huh? Teresa. All right, I didn't clean off my brush, and you definitely need a clean brush for this one. The Dr. Martens is on my brush right now, and my brush is rock hard, but the Dr. Martens really is a forgiving type of medium. It goes really back into solution very quickly, so you add a little bit of water to it, and it dissolves very fast. Good news, Debbie. Glad you're over it. That can be a real kind of hassle, huh? Did you get a lot of respiratory types of symptoms? It's always a hassle, especially at nighttime. Okay, so with these two trees identical on both sides, it's hard to tell which side's the front and what side's the back. Okay, I can tell that this one is the front right here because the impressions are slightly darker, but I mean, they're kind of interchangeable at this point in time. By the time you do everything on them, it doesn't really matter. But it'll matter, right now when I apply this paint to it. If anyone's joined in and hasn't seen a Vellum piece before, what I'm doing is I stamped on the front side of the Vellum, and then birch trees, I want those trunks to be white. Someone asked me, hey, if I wanted the trunks to be brown instead, well, what do I do? Well, you can blot them out from the back, and then you just color them in whatever color you want in the front, or you can put your color on the back of it right now and then seal the color in with this white so you can put it on the front or the back, okay? So you don't have to get, like brown paint or something like that, because you're doing all your coloring with the colored pencils. You're just blocking out what you don't want to show through. And this case, it's going to be a photograph of some clouds in the photo stamping kind of, it's not really photo stamping, I don't think, if you're not stamping on the photograph, but you're utilizing the photograph. So I guess in a sense it is photo stamping. It's just kind of the utilization of a photograph in, whatever, scenic stamping composition, or any type of composition. It doesn't have to be scenic stamping. You can use a photograph and someone stamping a birthday card or something like that. I guess you can put that imagery right on there instead of just starting with a white piece of paper. Okay. Well, hope you get over that cough soon, but glad that you're over the worst of the symptoms and just have the residual effects. Okay, that is done with that. That is now a very opaque tree right there. See that? These are see-through and these are opaque. But then you can just color these in. If it's not a birch tree, if it's brown, you just color them with your colored pencil. You can make them any color you want, or any color you want. Now on the brilliance, I would use a colored pencil or something of that sort. I want color a brilliance ink on vellum with, say, something like a Copic marker, okay? But if you want to use Copic, it's just something like that, then what you can do is let me do it right here. Since I color these trunks anyways with a little bit of tone, see, I'm putting this brown right on here like this. This is this is a brownish gray, so it's very light in value. Okay, do you see that right there where I've added that little line of brown right there? So you get a little brown right there. It's a real faint one, because I didn't do it, real strong. I want to handle my coloring with the colored pencils from the front for the trees, but then you just seal it in with this. And you'll have that brown kind of inherently in the design. Maybe it gives you a little bit of a head start to your coloring process just by the utilization of that color in the back. But remember, see, when I'm using that Copic marker on the back of this vellum, I'm not applying that to the brilliance because the brilliance has been stamped on the front. So, you can really use those kind of this front and back type of dynamic very strategically. And, if there's so Copics and like StazOn inks aren't supposed to be compatible, right? Because the Copics will, alcohol inks in general, not just Copics, but they'll dissolve a solvent style of ink, so you can stamp these images out in, so you see that little brown right there? Now you can see it more on that tree, but it's not on the front, it's on the back side of it. It looks like it's on the front, though. You'd never be able to tell, right? But yeah, so you can use Copic markers with solvent inks, but you got to do it on vellum, though. Unless you're spray sealing everything together. Drop my mouse there. Okay, so that is that, and let's see. I used a lot of my sedge filler on the front and back yesterday. I'm going to use this one all on the front. I don't know. Maybe I'll use it on the back too. That's a little bit better probably. Okay, so I'm going to do this a little bit differently on this one. I don't know now that I look at this, I'm going to keep this kind of simple. I could put some more birch trees in the back of these and then seal those off again, but I'm going to keep this a little bit more simple for the sake of a quick card, okay? All right, so we have those sedge filler filled in there. Now this is going to be a mirror card too, okay? So I'm going to be putting this over the top of this photo like that, all right? Or I'll go maybe like this. I'll get more of that blue up on the top portion like that. All right. Okay, so that being said, I've already adhered a 4x6 piece of the silver mirror cardstock to this folded card right here. Quarter page folded, well, not quarter page, 4x6 folded card. And I thought, oh, okay, let me see. it would be nice if I can just adhere that in there. But the thing is, I still have to apply spray adhesive to this one. And I don't want to do it with this attached. I'd have to mask this off. And when you're spraying that spray adhesive, you might get some in the front of it, you know, when you're applying it to this. So it's always better to keep this separate. And then we'll do the pairing of this. So it's going to look something like this, you know. I mean, doesn't that look cool? That's yesterday's card. Okay, so that is that. Let's put some of this grassy terrain behind the trees, though. So you flip this over like this, and you just stamp it right over your masked out trees. Okay. And it's kind of masked out. It's blocked out, really, with the white paint. So now you can just stamp it right over the back, and there's no masking that really occurred. In a sense, you're masking out with the white, you know, the whiting out there. But I don't know. No, I went a little bit too crazy with my pen work yesterday, so I'm going to keep this one a little bit more simple. But I'm thinking about using some of this in the background right up here. I don't want to use too much of it because I don't want to block off too much of my cloud structuring. But let's see how this goes here. Okay, so let's see. Has anyone stamped on vellum here before? Or done this type of front back? I've been doing this for, I don't know, maybe a year now or something like that. I can't remember the first time I did that. Maybe it's been over a year. Time seems to be flying by. I can't believe it's like Halloween tomorrow. Okay, so let's see. These are the aspens. And we're going with, I don't know, like a purple tree theme these days, but on the Facebook group, well, at least with one album. Not all of them, but okay, let's see. Let's get these right in here. And see, you're stamping it just right over the front of this, like this. Okay. Maybe I shouldn't have done that down here. Maybe I should have blocked that off with some white. But anyway, there's some little bit of trees down there like that. Let's block this one off. I should have done that. Okay. Let's go like this. I have to get my bearings here. Okay, this is going to go right in here with the trees. Or you know, or we can also just mask it off. Maybe I'll do that. I'm still kind of getting my bearings, as I just mentioned, with the front and back processing. So I blocked it off a little bit like that with the white, but then let's go in like this and add this over here like that. Okay. That is that. So it is now over that area. This area is going to get all filled in with tone, though, shadow and whatnot. And, okay, now one of the things that I have to remember, too, is that this thing seems to bleed through. Water-based inks will bleed through the water-based bleed-proof white, all right? The bleed-proof white is very opaque, but, you know, if you got something soaking through it, it's not so much. But the thing that I do on these trees is I just use my acrylic white paint pen to go over that. So if it's bled through, no problem. Okay, so that is that. Let's go on with I did like these leaves coming in the top with that Memento Sweet Plum color. Let's see. This. I'm trying to avoid a little bit of that bleed through with the tops of the trunks like that. So I'll just go like that. Okay. All right. I keep having to switch my paper out all the time because if I don't, you're going to be looking at that, you know, it's seeing right through it like that. This is a 55-pound Canson too, so it's reasonably see-through. opaque. Transparent. All right, so we have that going in there like that. That is the back side of it. This is the front side of it. All right, and one of the things why I'm doing this is because I have all my pencils out from yesterday's card, so I don't have to switch anything out. We're just going for a little bit of a variation of it. And this one is going to have a little bit of a deer up here. That's why I didn't clutter this with more trees in there like that. So, hello, Maureen. All right, so let's go in here. I'm coloring the back of this. You can cut the color in the front of it. I do both, okay? So, and I'll need to do both sides, but I like going with the back like this. It kind of gets the foundation established. This one's going to be a little bit different too. I'm going to go darker on this card than the last one because I'd like to have this area down here where it transitions into a mirror card setting darker. So it's like a slope of like a waterside area. And in that type of scenario, we make it darker. All right. And this one right here, we make it a little bit dark too, but like this area right here is really light. Okay. But in the mirror cards, this isn't really the foreground. The area down here is the foreground. All right. Okay. Let's go like this. Okay, rendering. I've laid down tones. I guess you can use Copics in the background here too if you want to. Or water-based media. You can blend in tones with some water-based media, dye-based inks, anything like that. It'll give you kind of a head start in terms of the whole toning process. I find that the colored pencils, though, are fairly fast going. So I laid down it, with this lighter, warmer green, okay? It's kind of over the whole thing like that. But then when you start moving into your darker tones, you focus those ones a little bit more in the darker areas, okay? So you can watch for little textures on the grass sedge filler. And I'm making those areas darker like that, as we want to make sure that this hillside doesn't look like it's flat, or it's not like this flat slope. It's has variations within that grassy area. Okay, and then I'll transition it down here with that darker area. Okay, now remember, we're doing this on the back side of the vellum. Like I said, it could be on either side. This is going to look a little bit lighter though when we flip it over, just because we are looking through that translucent material. It's like looking through like a frosted glass or something like that. All right. But I do add this to the front side as well. This kind of gets me a little bit established here. I don't know, it might look a little bit deeper, in terms of layering too, by using the front and back side. It's time to break out that vellum if you have it. I don't know, I found that when I posted a lot of these vellum pieces last year, or I don't know if maybe it was this year. I thought it was 2021 though, but a lot of people already had vellum, they just haven't used it for stamping or really didn't think about it. And a lot of people have different brands too. I was mentioning yesterday that I got a lot of comments about how a lot of people didn't think that you can use vellum on inks on vellum, because of the drying types of issues. I didn't think it would dry on there. And most of the inks that I had tried, I don't have a ton of inks either, but the Brilliance dried on it, and what else dried on there? I think, I don't know if it was the VersaFine or, I mean, definitely StazOn would dry for sure. But I don't know. There were like three types of inks that I use. And I colored on there too. And I didn't have problems with drying with anything. So there might be some other types of vellums that are more sealed than others. Okay. All right, so see now that's kind of coming along here. See, my purple down here, I'm kind of trying to eradicate a lot of that kind of seeped through there. I should have masked that off like these ones over here. But then you just come in here like this, okay, and you just go right over the top of it. You'll get a much stronger application of the media on the front side too, because it's not, you know, we're not looking through that translucent, kind of frosted paper there at the scene. But again, I find it, I don't know, I think the layering and things like that when you work on front and back looks a little bit better. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know, Candy. It just depends. I mean, if it's a 65 pound, then it's probably going to be thicker. But you would just have to see it. And the different brands might be different. You know, I don't know. Hello, Jeannie. Okay, but that being said, if it's less see-through, what you do is your imagery that you're going to be putting it over, maybe you just have more contrast in this, you know, have a cloud photo. If you're glowing it to a cloud photo like this one, you just put, make, you know, these areas in here have more contrast so that would show through better like that. All right. All right, so let's see here. All right. One of the things that I always mention in my grassy kind of, I don't know, demonstrations and whatnot is I like to use browns in greens when I'm doing grasses. I find that it looks more earthy looking that way and less kind of hot of a green. I find that just greens, even if you're using multiple values of green, different temperatures of green, it just doesn't look kind of right to me just with straight green. I like these browns in there like that. So I'm going in with a little bit of brown on both the back and front side of it like that. See that little tinge of that orangish tinge, you know, from brown in there. I just think it looks more natural like that. All right, now here's what I'm doing too. I need to get a little bit more. I'm not used to, you know, doing this type of composition right here, like in a mirror card situation. So you see where my tendency is to leave this area really light right here, okay? But again, it's supposed to be the slope that's going down into the water. So let's darken this in right here. I'll put some other imagery down here too, maybe some reeds or something like that, like a little transition zone into that water. All right, here's the, I'm going to put this as my light source. So these shadows in here will kind of angle out towards that lighting like that. So go like this here, and then just kind of, I do a little line, then I kind of just smooth it out like that. I'm going a little bit colored pencil crazy here. I don't know if I'm going to make that quick card, but it'll be quicker than usual. Hopefully. There's not very much to, I mean, we don't have to do like so much coloring on this type of thing. But I don't know. I want to make it as rich as possible because anything that you do up here is going to be reflected in the mirroring down here. So it's like you get, you know, twice as much of the impact for the time that you spent on this top portion of it because it's like, again, it's being reflected into that bottom portion. So it's like you've done double the work, but, you know, it takes half the time because you're really only doing half of it. Okay, so that's my grassy area like that. That is still too light, though. The black will be the, oh, let's see. There's a couple of my black colored pencils here. All right, so the lighting is coming from this way. So my shadows will be kind of like that in that direction there, okay? So I'll follow suit like that. And then the slope is kind of going down into the water right here. I need to really darken in that area right there. And let's get this. Maybe these trees will be a little bit too close to the water, but maybe there was a lot of there was an extra large amount of rain that just happened right here in this setting, so the water level has risen, which wouldn't be anywhere out here in California, obviously. Well, if it was birch trees either, unless this was like in someone's yard. All right, so let's see. It's going in here like so. You see that kind of lighting starting to happen here with the shadowing like that. So you just kind of build it up until you get to black, and then see when I'm coming back into the black, as far as rendering goes, I'm going into these textures within the grassy terrain like this, okay? And hello, Cheryl C. Crawford. All right, going like this. This whole area in the back here is a little bit darker with those trees back there. Okay. I guess I'm now a colored pencil user. It doesn't mean I'm a good colored pencil illustrator, though, or colorist or whatever. But I'm using them a lot more these days. And for Vellum, fantastic. So, okay, so as I was mentioning before, someone mentioned, well, how do you get these? If I don't want these birch trees, you know, if I do this technique and I want trees to be brown, then how do you get them brown? They were thinking about you have to paint it in, but again, you just use your brown and you just color your trees brown now. So you're starting off with a white area there. Hello, Susie. Glad you like it. Coming around a little by little here. Okay, so let's get on these birch trees. Like I said, you know, you can color them whatever color you want. I like to bringing in a little bit of this bluish tinge in here. It's not that I want blue birch trees or something like that, but white, you know, anything that's white tends to reflect kind of the colored lighting of an area. And I'm going to have this blue in the background, so it'll give some of this blue in the trees that kind of relates to it like that. So, I mean, again, see, I put that little blue in there. I'm going to put other colors over the top of it too, over that blue, but that's, and it doesn't have to be a specific blue. Well, maybe not like a navy or something like that, but I add that in there, then we'll go in with black here to tone in. Okay, so lighting is going to be more centralized. You can see the shadows being kind of directed by a light source. So the trees over here on the right-hand side get right side shading, okay? Like that. And kind of transition it a little bit darker on the edge. And then as it moves into the trunk, I mean, there's not a lot of space there, but make it a little bit lighter, okay? And then we're going to do the opposite with white ink or paint when we hit the lighting from the opposite side, okay? So shading, right side, highlighting left side, okay? Now, here's what I do too. I was mentioning with any type of tree trunks or any type of mass, cabins, anything like that, something that's standing in an area, you give it a little bit of visual weight by kind of anchoring it to this ground area. But so see these trunks here, how I've kind of added this darker tone, and it's going into the trunk like this a little ways, and then down through that cast shadow area, okay? This one right here, you can't really see very much of this tree. It's hanging halfway off the page, but you can still anchor it down with this little, and it's like a little 1/4 inch right there. Do you see that little bit right there of darkness? So you're seeing that the object has some mass and opacity too. Now here's these trees in the background. You can also do that a little bit. That's why I wasn't too worried about that kind of purple showing through there a little bit, because I would have those casting a shadow anyway, like that. Okay. Let's see, this one is going like this. This one is in quite a bit of darkness over here. So I'll go like this. Now these trees are getting left side shading because the lighting is coming from the right, okay? Here's the thing with the trees too, like this. Maybe don't have everything just all dark all the way up it, okay? Kind of vary it a little bit. So like on here, you can add a little bit more of a darker tinge. Maybe it's getting some shading from the foliage up above. And then have a little bit area open like that. And then you can come in here like this or whatever and add that in like so. Okay. And we have a reasonably strong kind of lighting, I don't know, whatever essence or something like that, I think I'm a little bit darker over here than I am over here, so let's match that up a little bit more. All right, I need to go darker over here too for that little water's edge type of thing. See, I'm going darker on this one than I did on this one. This one's just not dark enough though. Here, let me go like this, down here. Let's take a look at it in that mirror type of situation. Let's put it together and see, let's get our bearings here. Okay, now this gets a little bit darker from, I don't know, some of that. Well, I guess not too much. I was going to say if I had some more blue. Wait, which way was I going to do this? I was just going to do it like this to get a little bit of that cloud kind of structuring showing through there like that. So this is what this is going to look like right now. It's not too bad. Okay, so let's see. Let's put some reeds down here to create this kind of transition zone right here into the water like that. All right. All right, let's see. All right, if I do those reeds right now, I want to do that pretty close to when I'm done. Let's put those reeds in later because there's going to be a little bit moist. Or wait, maybe we should do it now because I need to seal this down on the top of this, and I don't want those to be wet at that time. All right, let's do it right now. You have to think of a little bit more on this type of process here. It's not a huge amount more, but there's just certain things that you remember when you're doing it. If you haven't done this for a while, as far as the steps go. And it's not steps that, there's steps of opportunity, okay? All right, now this is the Brilliance Black. I'm looking at that. It's not stamping over. I have a really heavy application of colored pencil in here. So it's like wax, right? And I'm stamping like a water-based media into that wax. I think maybe I should go with the StazOn this one. I've been avoiding StazOn because I have to clean my stamps off. But let's clean off after this one. Or I'll just clean it off right here as I go. Okay, so let's go down here like this. You know, yeah, I don't know if that StazOn stuck to that as much as the Brilliance. No, actually it is. This is just a really fine stamp right here. I think I'm going to go with both. Kind of the smaller reeds like that. Nah, I'm just going to go with the smaller reeds on this one. Like that. And then I'll use the larger reeds down here for the foreground, okay? We're composing here. Hello, Susie. Good to see you. Hello in Illinois. Welcome to maybe a not quite so. Let me try this in the Brilliance too. Let me see if I can get a little bit depth with Brilliance and StazOn. All right. You know what? The Brilliance is darker than the StazOn. The Brilliance inks are going to be, you know, they're going to be thicker, so I think I'm getting a little bit of a thicker application of it. Brilliance and StazOn are designed to dry really fast, so you see those reeds on both sides like that now. So let's see if that kind of creates a little bit, that's a much better water's edge like that, I think. Okay, so this is what it looks like mirrored like that. All right. We still have our little focal point. Oh, here, I forgot about this. See, it's going to be lighter than that. Okay, so there we go. See, this is what it looks like without the photo. Look how dark it is like that. It looks really bad. Here, like that. So without the photo, without the cloud photo, here's my Halloween scene like that. And here's with fresh, you know, springtime greenery. Could be an Easter card or something like that. You take that out, Halloween. Okay, so that is that. Let's work on our trees now. And we'll come in here with our white paint pen. All right. I'm going to flip this upside down because these are a little bit wet and I don't want to put my hand into it, okay? So the lighting is coming from here, and the sides of the birch trees that are facing the light are going to get illuminated. So opposite sides of the trees on opposite sides of the card scene. Like that, okay. My Brilliance ink on my birch tree impressions seems to be still a little bit wet, surprisingly. Did you get a reply, Maureen? No one from Ontario. You have a fellow Canadian, though, watching here. Not me, but in the chat, or they were here. Okay, coming in here like so. I just do this line right now, and then I just kind of even it out later on. I don't know if I have that example little piece that I did yesterday. And one of the things I was mentioning is you kind of keep this a little bit irregular too. Um, when you're going in here, kind of keep it a little bit scratchy. And it's kind of in the spirit of this bark that you're doing. Now, I got a lot of bleed through with that dye-based ink on my birch trees, but I was just mentioning you just go in here with the paint pen like this and just make that bark in there white again, like about like so. If you weren't on earlier with the beginning of this video, you probably don't know what I'm talking about, but we blocked off these areas right here, and then I stamped my aspen in I don't know, plum, because that's what color aspen trees are, right? And where it went over the top of this water-based block out opaque white, it bled right through there. So we're just kind of reintroducing the white, but doing it right over the top of this again, like this, which is not a problem to do. Okay, so I was mentioning you just kind of do this line right up there like that, and then you just go in the spirit of the contour of the tree with your pen. So it's a little scribbly mark. Watch yesterday's video if you want to see that. That example. Here, I'll do it over here. So I go like this. Remember, this is left side illumination because I'll have the lighting coming from here. You put that line down there, and then you just do these little kind of contour lines like this with your pen. And then see that what you're doing is I'm getting rid of that defining left side line for the most part. You want a little bit of it showing maybe, but kind of eradicating a lot of it makes your trees look much more three-dimensional this way, okay? This is the type of thing that I could do nowadays. You might be able to do it with a white gel pen, but the white gel pens are roller balls. And for the most part, I didn't use gel pens to roll with, you know, like I'm writing with something, but with that roller ball type of action, you know, to get the flow going, a lot of times I would roll media up into that ball and it would jam them more often, okay? With this, if you go over, like I'm getting some of that media up into this little feeder hole, you know, for the paint, but I just do a little scribble off and it gets feeding again much easier than my gel pens ever did. The gel pens, though, you know, they're good and I could live with those, but just, I don't know, the media these days, you know, with these acrylic paint pens, it's just made it. There are things that I'm doing with these pens that it's just so much more convenient for me. So I'm able to do certain things on like a tree like this than I, you know, was able to do even like a couple years ago. I don't know how long these paint pens have been out there, but it just, I don't know, it just makes the possibilities so much, you know, more expanded now. All right, so I've done that highlighting on the sides like that. That paint dries reasonably fast. Yeah, Guru, it does, huh? That blue sky in the back. Now, if I had, I would rather have a photograph with a little bit more contrast. I need to print out some of my later postings in my Flickr account. By the way, these cloud photos, I have them up on my Flickr account, and they're all free for download and printing. And I have a video showing how to download and print, but if you just go to that and you bring up the file, and then there's this downward facing arrow in the corner of the full, when you bring it up full size, and that's the download button. Then it asks you what size do you want to download the file in, and there's like 6 different sizes, or I don't know, maybe it's 8. It's like square, and it tells you the different resolutions. Well, if you're going to be printing something out, you might as well just download the full original resolution, okay? And then, you get that printed out wherever if you have a printer at home, you can do it. Or, if you think you might like some of these, you just get them printed out at your, I don't know, if you have a local place that still prints, Costco's don't have those anymore. Their photo department, but you can have them printed out online and mailed to you, 20 prints or something like that. I don't know what they were, 15 cents each or something like that. So, yeah. Let's see. Whose giggles are those? Oh, is that me? Thank you very much. Kevin's videos. We need Linda. Linda from BC needs to start making videos. Linda, your videos, that would be really cool, is if you were able to do, like on a lot of phones these days, in the camera section, there's time lapse, So if you were to set up your phone to do like a time lapse recording of especially your large format pieces, the 11 by 17s would be really awesome. I think on those time lapse things, unless you have editing software, you just have to do it all in one sitting, though. I don't think you can merge those together in the phone. You might be able to do. It depends what phones you have or something like that, but. I think the iPhones have a time lapse feature. You might think, well, Apple's, are pretty good for that, but sometimes Apple's like the last one to implement those types of things. So it might be on other phones like before, Apple. Okay, so there's my trees like that. And let's go a little bit dark. I think this area right down here is nice and dry now. I'm going to blend that in a little bit more, though. It looks a little bit busy with all of those reeds, so we're going to mellow it out a little bit with a little bit more tone, like so. Okay. Now I got one of the things that I was doing on here, I'm sure it's on my hand here, but I smudged a lot of that pink or plum from this branch into the back there. So I'm going to add another layer of these, just like I did in the other video. That kind of saved me on the piece because I got too crazy with my my paint pen work. All right. So let's do something here. Let's add a little bit of variation to these trees in the background, okay? So those trees are stamped on the back side of the vellum, all right? So let's go, oh yeah, London Drugs there, okay, perfect. Is that I take that's a Canadian chain then, that you can get prints at in Canada? Okay, so let's see here. Good night, Glenda. Sweet dreams. All right, so I'm adding in a little bit of texturing and lighting to these trees in here. I'm going to keep it subtle this time. I went too crazy yesterday. All right, so this is just a little bit lighter than the plum, and it's lighter than the plum through the vellum, okay? Because again, those trees are stamped in the back. All right. So we'll go with that, something like that. And then white will really kind of brighten everything up and kind of give it a sparkly finish here. Let's see. I think that's my lightest of my purples there. Like these ones would be darker here. I don't know. I'm tempted to put on a little dark in there. I think that might be too dark though. Let's leave that out of there. Okay, so let's add this. Okay, so I added framing's a little bit different with these mirror cards, you know, because like again, this isn't like the foreground, but it's the foreground of this top scene. Okay, so I'm going to add in some of these leaves in a darker hue now. Okay, coming from above, and again, these ones were stamped on the back side of the vellum. Okay, so I'm stamping these on the front side. All right, let's see here. You gotta give it a try, Linda. You know, my first videos, my first many videos were really basic in terms of like the production. Like on mine, it was a point and shoot camera, which is a good point and shoot camera, but it doesn't do video well, or it didn't do video well. It didn't do video or sound well. You know, it's mostly for photographs, and you know, like if a phone, like any of the phone, if you have a phone that's, I don't know, like 6 years old or newer, most of those are going to have a much, much higher kind of, what they call it, IQ than that point and shoot camera that I was using like 10 years ago, which wasn't, that camera wasn't even new at that time either. So, all right. So that is that right there. Okay. Looking at this. All right. I'm looking at this area down here. I guess it's dark enough for me. See, I like it when there's a little bit more of that transition down there. I want it a little bit. I want it a little bit darker. I wonder if I could. Can I sponge on some of this brilliance ink down here? Let's try that here. I haven't blended brilliance inks, the black brilliance, in a while. I was doing this on a lot of the foil pieces. All right, that looks much darker, doesn't it? You know, those colored pencils, you know, you can only get so dark with that. And remember, brilliance inks are designed to dry on non-porous surfaces, such as a glosses, so it should dry on the top of this vellum. My question is, how fast is it going to dry on the top of that wax, you know, from the colored pencil, though? So let's take a look at this again here, and let's see. See that? Look at that darkness down there. It's much better. So see, that darkness that you get right there is transitioning into that water. It looks more like a water's edge to me now, darker like that, right? And then, you know, it stands to reason that there'd be this kind of growth next to that water line like that, you know, with some, I don't know, whatever, reeds or something like that. Okay, I've left this area up here blank because I wanted to bring in that deer or something like that, just some sort of focal point in there that someone, you know, wanted to see yesterday, but we didn't do. Mine was too. There was such a small kind of area right here. I would have had to mask this off and had something like peeking out from behind that. It always been better if I did it on the back side of the vellum before I stamped it in here. You have this deer or something back there. Maybe I don't know. Maybe do that in the future or something like that. That's one of those strategic types of things. Okay, but when I was holding that up just now, it occurred to me, I think I want a little bit more color on these birch trees. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of this brownish tinge to it. I'm not going to make the birch trees brown, but I'm just going to, I don't know, make the shadow areas a little bit richer. Okay, with a little bit of extra. I don't know, I guess we're adding in a little bit of warmth to it, like a tan or something like that would be good. This one's a little bit of a lighter brown, and I'm doing it very lightly too. Let's bring some of this into this grassy area as well, just so that it's not some kind of isolated hue in here. Okay, I think that is it. Let us see if you guys can see any difference here. Can you see any difference there in those trees? Do you see that little bit of a tinge of warmth in there? Let's put a little bit more right here. It looks different when you put this like over something too. So it's like you have to kind of get your bearings and see what something's going to look like kind of in its, I don't know, whatever. Maybe it's not the final incarnation, but it's getting closer to the final incarnation, with that layering in there like that. All right, so I think that is good for now. I think it's time to spray seal these. I don't know London drugs here. We have Long's drugs, or used to. I don't know if it's in. There might be London drugs in different areas of the country, though. There's a lot of things that are in like in the U.S. that are like Midwest or something like that, or whatever, that aren't in other areas. Even like larger fast food chains and stuff like that. A lot of times they're not spread out coast to coast. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to spray seal this photo. Okay, now if you didn't watch yesterday's thing, what I was mentioning is we have two choices here. I can put the spray sealant on this, right? And this has all the media on here, but this is a real flappy, very thin vellum. And if I spray seal this, I almost bet you that it's going to really curl on me, getting that moisture on there. So whatever you're adhering, your piece to, whatever one's thicker, look at that, looks kind of cool like that, huh? Whatever the thicker piece is, the better one to spray seal. I'm using the 3M Super 77. It's just kind of a general spray sealant, but a lot of artists use it to spray seal their pieces together. Let me see what this thing looks like with just out of curiosity. Let's put on some crazy stuff on behind here like this. Oh yeah, this is, okay, look at this. That looks pretty cool too. This vellum totally mutes out. It entirely eradicates the holographic nature of this, like that. Look at that. It's slayed it. But it does look interesting with that warmish tinge like that, doesn't it? You might be able to transition some of this, I don't know, with darkness or on the back of this, and have this kind of warm kind of sunset glow or something like that, maybe using a paper. Let's see what the blue looks like behind there. You can really see everything that I've blocked out, and there's the paint pen work on there. I mean, you'd have to bring other types of white pigment ink in here to, make that. You can have like a white moon on here too, like a full moon, and that would be interesting in that type of scenario. I think I've done stuff like that in the past. Oh, Here's another kind of a much busier cloudy background like that. That doesn't look too bad either. If it was a little bit higher like that, it would look better. Not with that portion up top there like that. But you can see, you can kind of, you can decide on what you want to do. Um, After you get your scene stamped out, you might want to do other types of things like that. But that looks kind of interesting too. You get a lot of that patterning. Do you see that patterning from the clouds down there showing through? But when you look at it like that, I don't think people are going to say, oh, look at those clouds down there. They might, but I still like this one right here. This one was the one that was kind of conceived for. Let's see. So one of the things I have to remember when I glue this down on this one is I need to glue that. That's the top right there. So I'm going to do the darker portion down below like that. So see, that darker portion down below like that also kind of darkens that water line too. So it gives me a little bit of a, head start with that toning. But it didn't need that. It didn't need that darker edge like that. Hello, Debadoo B. Okay, so I'm going to go outside and spray this. It'll take me a couple minutes, and I'll be right back. All right, so we have our photograph spray with spray adhesive on it. Okay, this is the bottom. And let's see. Those leaves right there are a little bit wet still, so I need to be careful about that. Okay, I'm gonna get my big head in your way here maybe, because I need to do this reasonably carefully, okay? All right. Whew. I'm just joking, kind of, when I do that. Whew. Because I don't want to get here and then start laying it over here where I'm a little bit off on this angle, but by the time I get down here, I'm like 1/8 of an inch off or something like that, okay? All right, so like I said, some of this is still a little bit wet. This isn't sealed down completely yet, but what I do is I go like this, and I go from the center out like this, so there's just less chance of, you working out some kind of like air bubble. Then you get down here, then there's like this like ridge almost that happens. And if you're doing this for the first time, just kind of expect bubbles in it. I got bubbles in a lot of my first ones that I did. I think I'm using more adhesive now than I was before. I think I was giving it a super light coating before, but now I think I'm using a little bit more. But sometimes it goes on to your piece. When you're spraying that spray sealant, you'll get like globs of glue down sometimes, and then those areas look a little bit more, it makes the vellum look more transparent. So you'll get these little dots in here, and you can see it. There's some in there. I can't zoom in too close here, but there's some irregularity in there, okay? Just kind of expect that going into it. And then, when it happens, it's not too big of a deal. You can just I don't know. You can put some tone over it if you want to. To me, I don't do anything. All right, so I want to get this deer in here now. I don't know. I could have done it at any point in time, but like I said, you can do like braided backgrounds or something like that if you want like a sunset, or a sunset photograph would look pretty cool too. You when you're dealing with kind of harsher types of transitions in here, um, that's going to influence what you apply on the front of your card naturally because it's going to be see-through unless you block it out. So just keep that in mind. Let's see, have you ever used your own stamps for a cloud background? I've used like moons and things like that, yeah. Sometimes I don't know. I like the natural ones though because it's just so much faster. But I have, yeah. Okay, so let's see here. That is going to be pretty big here. Or is it? I might go for a smaller. I have a couple different. I have my horse and the horseback rider. Oh, here. Let's put down some of this too. And sometimes I don't want to spend too much time on the background because when you put that vellum over the top of it, if you spend a lot of time on your stamping your background, it's like you put the vellum over the top of it and you can't see it as much, so you spend all its time on the background. That being said, maybe you can just do a really fast version of it or something like that, in the background, and you know, by the time you put this over the top of it, you can just have the gist of it in there. Like if I want to do it like a moon or a full moon rising up from the horizon, I would probably use my cloud with rising moon or something of that sort. Okay, so let's see here. Yeah, this one's going to be a little bit too big like that, okay? And I don't want it too high because I want, see, if I stamp that deer here, its head's going to go up to like right there. And then when I'm looking at this, that deer's head's going to go to like all the way down here. So I'm kind of keeping the reflection area in mind here for this piece. So, all right, let's put this lady rider in here. I was mentioning that would be kind of good to have something like looking out, you know, into the horizon or whatever on yesterday's scene. All right. Okay. I don't know if I should hold this down longer for more ink transfer, if I should lift it up faster for more ink transfer. I've been working on with StazOns and foils and holographics and all those different types of weird surfaces, printable vinyls, where sometimes if you hold the impression down longer and then you lift it, it comes out lighter than if you just kind of snapped it like that and then lift it up really fast, like StazOn on it was the like pearl paper. That pearl paper, I don't know, it baffled me. I didn't know what to do with that. But the Claire worked fantastic for the pearl. Okay, so we got that in there. Let's add a little bit more texturing in here. This is the tiny rocks. I'll go with something like that. Yeah, let's put a real light version of it right in there. I'll add a shadow down below where they're casting a shadow here, but let's take a look at that. Looks like right there. See that? Doesn't that look like a really great kind of focal point in both the image and in the reflection like that? This would be really fantastic for, it's somewhat evocative, so it's perfect for that quote stamp on the front of this card. Someone called this like an inside out card where they'd use like the word stamps on the outside of the card like that. All right. So I think I'm going to keep this portion really quite simple here. We have these reeds on this side of the water. And I'm going to go with, okay, I'm going to definitely go with the StazOn on this one. I used to go with the Brilliance down here, but the Brilliance would require spray sealing on silver cardstock, okay? The Brilliance doesn't really require spray sealing when it's on any type of porous surface, such as the Vellum, okay? The Vellum, it's fine as is. If you've never stamped on like a really slippery, smooth surface like this with a pigment ink or any type of ink, StazOn, whatever, when you stamp down in there, just expect that somewhere along the line you're going to do a little twist. Linda B said she did it, and if she got a little bit of it's not really smearing, but when you stamp it down, sometimes it moves. It's a skewing of the imagery or of the impression making, okay? StazOn cleaner just wipes it right off, all right? Isn't that so, Linda? If Linda's still here, maybe Linda's making her video. Okay, so going down here in the corners. So you have to be kind of, oh, I skewed it right there. I stamped it down and I moved it a little bit, but I got away with it. Wasn't like a big skew. So like I said, it happens. If I'm not stamping, on this type of, surface very often. Now you can do it too. You just have a practice piece and then you get the feel of it, And I'll watch my last one be kind of skewed more than the, that one. I think I moved slightly on that one. So I don't know, think vertical. All right, so there is my reed foreground right here. This one had a little bit of a crease down there, but so be it. Not from anything I did. All right, so let's see this. Let's see it with the foreground right here. All right. About like so. All right. Wasn't that weird what the Vellum did with this thing? Just completely eradicated the entire reflective nature of that holograph. I never knew how holographics work. Okay, so let's see. Everything else is casting a shadow in here, right? So we're going to go in, and I'm a little bit dark right here with my exposure. So let's see. Now, I don't know. I just kind of fake my shadows like this. Okay, now the shadows aren't going to be as long on a object that's, far in the distance. So I'm just putting this down like this underneath the horse. And I'll just kind of taper it off a little bit. So it's a little bit darker. Then I'm tapering it here, making it a little bit lighter like that. So hopefully that looks like, I don't know, somewhat of a natural shadow. Put a little one over here for the head, maybe, where that horse's head might be. All right. But now this is looking really dark in here, okay? So that's where we will hit that with some pigment ink, like so. Yeah. So if you do anything on that mirrored silver cardstock with StazOn, Linda has tested that out with the StazOn cleaner, cleans it right up for another impression. It lives to stamp another day or another right after that. Okay, so let's see. Let's go with a new cotton ball here. 100% cotton balls, okay? And someone, I don't know, someone recently told me, yeah, they tried like those synthetic ones and it just didn't work for them. I don't know, maybe there are some types that'll work, but most of them just did not work for me at all. First of all, they just don't absorb very much moisture. They're almost wicking moisture, which makes sense. I used to do a lot of hiking, and one of the things is that in cold weather, you don't wear cotton, you wear synthetics because the synthetics wick moisture away from your body, so you don't get hypothermia. And so with like a synthetic cotton ball, it's probably, it's repelling moisture when you're trying to absorb it, okay? So we want to get as much moisture in this as we can. You don't want to have it sopping wet or anything like that because I don't want to start dabbing it down here and get these, big blobs of white ink. So, oh, here's that, my little thing. This is what I was doing on those birch trees, by the way. You put that line down there like that, and then you go and add these little lines like that back into the contour of the trees, okay? But this is what you want here. See this? Let's see. Let's get this kind of evened out a little bit. Actually, there is quite a bit of ink on my pad, apparently. I think I re-inked it not too long ago. But, okay, so I'm getting that right there, but watch this right here. Okay, so that's 10 taps right there, and that's barely anything, right? Now I can tap harder and get, a stronger kind of application of it, but in general, I want a really light touch of ink being applied to this at any given time, okay? And that way I can get whatever I want through repetition as opposed to like pressure or anything like that, okay? So let me see, let me dab in that a little bit more. I'm doing this on my lid here if you haven't seen this done before. If you've watched these videos, you've seen me do this like every video, but I just kind of smash that down, or you're going to be working with a really frayed, frilly, loose cotton ball. All right, so I don't have a lot of areas that are really light in here, so this is going to stand out a little bit more than most of my cards, but I made this pretty dark in here. So I'm just going to apply this really lightly, and you can't probably see anything yet with that, but so that's like 20 taps right there. But do you see that slight illumination starting to happen right there? This is going to represent like fog or something like that, and I really like that look in here. With something like this, sometimes it's good to kind of mask off like this, and you can add in like this little fog coming in to an area, but you can still have this little masked off area where it's not going everywhere. So that like that, so that it's kind of I'll put this behind this tree, okay? Like a lot of times I just do it right in here because it's lighter, but I have this shadow working down here, so let's mask that off a little bit like that. All right, see that coming in there? So it's livening up this whole area in here. It's giving it a little bit more, I don't know, kind of depth, lighting depth, I guess it would be. The pressure that you're applying this with, I always mention, you got to think when you're tapping this down, you want to tap it down kind of with no more pressure than maybe what you would be if you were applying makeup on like a like a 2-year-old's face, okay? Something like that. Okay, you don't want to smash it down or something like that. All right. See that? Okay, that was a little bit too harsh here. Let's kind of mellow that out a little bit more. All right. Looking a little bit better throughout that area there. It was looking a little bit kind of oh, a little bit harsh with just the super dark tones of colored pencil. Okay, now see that right there? I just put a little bit of tapping right down in there, and I think that looks pretty good. All right, now back in here, we'll add a little bit of fog or mist, whatever you call it, um, right around these purple trees in the background, like about like so. And then that also kind of eradicates some of my, little transparency blunder by stamping that tree all the way down here when I stamp that out. Okay. I got a lot of that purple like coming through the trees and everything like that. But um, by the time you work through all these things, that doesn't matter in here. I don't know if you, or maybe it was over here. Maybe it's right in there where I did that. But see, when you get through to like this step of the process, all those little things that kind of happen, in the first like couple stages of the scenes, if you kind of stick with it and work through the different media, I I mean I see this as kind of like something that can eradicate things that undesirable things that happen along the way. But it's not just that. I think this looks a lot better anyway, so I would be adding that anyway in here. Okay, so those initial types of things were, I don't know, whatever, 3 or 4 layers before this top layer in there. So you really minimize those types of things anyways. So that's why I always tell people, if there's certain things that happen kind of, especially, preliminary, with the impressions or something like that, by the time you work through all your different layers of media and whatever, um, I don't know, those types of things are really minimal. I mean, maybe if someone's like super anal, it's like, oh, I still say, I've had people in my workshops before call me over and say, yeah, there's this dot right here that's really bothering me. How do I get rid of it? And it's literally like a like a technical pen dot or something like that of ink, kind of out of place. Which I had them. I don't know. If that's bothering them, it's bothering them. But uh, you can put some white paint over it or something like that. Or not white paint. I think of this as white paint almost, but it's white ink. Okay, so adding some of this up there as lighting kind of on some of these leaves as well. It's not really on the leaves. I'm putting it over the top of the vellum, and the leaves are really under the vellum on the other side of it, but it really works really well. You can vary some of these trees in the background by putting on a little bit of this white ink over a portion of them. It's like I'm putting like white, I don't know, powder over things. That's kind of the notion of it. Okay. All right. Now let's really bring this to life with a lot more contrast. Let's see here. I have my other colors of paint pens as well. We can work in some different tones and different temperatures of green in here. This is a little bit of a cooler green, right? Definitely a warmer green, and white is like a neutral here. Windex. Windex takes the smears, smudges off the foil as well. Squeaky clean. There you go, everyone. Windex, the ultimate stamping accessory. Yeah. Well, I always tell people that, look in there. There's a lot of things that we can use in crafting that are right, in our own whatever cupboards and stuff like that. The cotton balls. I use a lot of paper towels and things like that. Windex there, alcohol wipes there. Great. That's a fantastic one. I've seen that used a lot. All right, Debbie, have a good rest of evening there. All right, so let's see. Let's add in some little highlights in here. This is the 0.7 millimeter. Artistro acrylic paint pens. And I'm adding this little texturing in an area that's roughly the same value, okay, as this white. I'm not looking at this one as something to kind of really stand out in the background. It just kind of gives it a little bit more richness and texture. All right. Now this one I think is going to stand out quite a bit more. So this one's going to be more kind of moving into that highlighting type of realm, okay? I'm not using it everywhere. But just in general, it's kind of creating this little element of light in here. And I'm not using it too much because I don't have too much of a warm light. It's more of this kind of neutral, kind of soft white light in here, okay? So I don't know if we would have like a really warm colored reflections, you know, like sparkly reflections. So I think the white will be the main highlighting, I don't know, whatever vehicle, textural vehicle. All right, so let's go in with this. So I'm adding these little clusters like at the top surfaces of some of these clumps. Okay, so if we added some of the shading, this is like a rendering type of thing. So I'm added to the shading like right around in here. Okay, see those little darker areas, but then see the top sides of this right here, where this lighter area is. Just in general, those are kind of the areas that I'm adding this highlighting to, okay? So darker in the shadows, you know, and reiterating that with, in this case, colored pencils like this, okay? And then the top sides of these are where I'm adding these little textures. Now, I can't see where a lot of these textures are anymore. So I'm just kind of making it up, okay? But that's the general type of kind of notion there. And again, I can't see a lot of them anymore because I've just laid down too much color, okay? So I'm just kind of creating a new little cluster like this, okay? So you kind of concentrate it and then you dissipate it like that, okay? And then here's another cluster of grass over here, okay? So that's what I'm doing on there. These also can be, it doesn't have to represent like highlights. It could be little clusters of white flowers or something like that within the grasses. But see, it's kind of bringing it to life, doesn't it? Yeah, like that. You can put some of this on your tree trunks as well. All right, no, I think that horse is dry enough. Let's go in. Let me make sure. We don't want like a blurred subject matter. Oh, let me heat set it a little bit. I don't want to heat set too much because we have that adhesive underneath the vellum. And I don't want to put that glue back into solution or something like that. And then, I don't know, have delamination or something like that taking place as well. So don't heat these types of pairings up too much, where you're dealing with, vellum too, is very subject to curling and whatnot. right, so see we've kind of brought in some of that same type of element down into these areas, or down into these areas up into that subject matter. Let's see. Let me bring a little bit more of this into this area too. So you can add, you can add little dots in there and then come back in with some more mist right over the top of it. So you get these kind of little diffused little dots in there too. So, and if you want to, you can come back over the top of that mist with crisper types of little touches in there as well. So, so on and so forth. Okay, let's see. So we have that kind of violet little tinge in there, right? And so much of nature is kind of thematic. So you can bring in some of these little, I don't know, whatever it is, would be lupin or something like that maybe. And that same color down here. So maybe these ones, these ones for sure kind of represent little blossoming little grasses or plants or something like that. All right, there we have it. I don't horseback ride, but if I did, I wouldn't mind horseback riding like in an area like that. All right, so that is that. Let's see what this looks like. Sometimes you have to adjust a little bit too because you have this lighting kind of reflecting off this silver and going back up there, where sometimes it's a little bit too light. Okay, now I'm definitely overexposed now. Okay, there we go. That's a little bit too dark. That's about what I'm looking at here in person, like this. Okay, so there we have our foreground down there. You can stamp out some kind of quote stamp in here. I would do it in white to make it stand out against that background like that. All right. Oh, alcohol dulls out the foil. That is a great tip there, because that's what I would have used probably. I'll look back at that comment. Know that it was when you said now. I got it, Debbie, or Debadoo. But in relation to that, it's much more full of life now. You can think about it like little color bugs. All right, so there is our adhesive crafter's tape to match these together. Don't just go like this and have it down. I have this kind of folded like this, and I just kind of bring this right up to that edge like that. Okay, and then you lower down like this. A lot of times, I don't get this in here. Like all the edges aren't perfectly matched up or anything like that. So what I usually do is I usually do a little bit of a refinement trim on my paper trimmer. I happen to have like a guillotine type of paper trimmer. You can take like a X-Acto blade or something like that though, and trim the edges. Like see right here, I have a little of this white here showing. Do you see that? Like that. Yeah, I mean, it's a tiny bit, but sometimes I will fold this like this. See this right here? That photograph kind of hung over a little bit. So you can close this like this and then trim these together so that they're flush. And sometimes I do a trim on this side and on this side. I just kind of open it up like this and do a trim. Some paper trimmers, you don't want to do that through this, 2 layers of cardstock or something like that. But anyways, there's, so I need to retitle this piece here. 1:30. I'm going to say this is a quicker card than 2-hour card. So I don't know. I started going on this, and I kind of got carried away with a lot of my coloring on this. I need to come up with a quick version of this where it's really simple. But this one, I don't know, I went crazy on this meadow down here. I, I think this area in here is a little bit richer, maybe, than this one. I don't know. It's because on this one too, I had to transition this into the darkness. This one right here is like much lighter. I don't know. I like this one though too. So this is what this one looks like mirrored. Some of you say, hey, I like that one better. I don't know. I like that one too. It's different, you know. So anyways, working with vellum, it's just so much fun. But when I was doing that one yesterday, I thought, oh, that would look really great having those birch trees kind of reflected in the water like that. So I don't know. I like this one like this with the, you know, the character up there. Looks kind of contemplative or something like that. But yeah, definitely fun stuff. I really like these vellum pieces. I think I did I do a waterfall scene in this? I can't remember. But I don't know. There's different possibilities when it comes to the vellum than just, you know, that just doesn't exist outside of other types of media. So it's really trying to find out some really great applications or processes for your different media that you have, and just, you know, finding out a good, really working solution for them. Sometimes, you know, like I said, sometimes some people don't even think that you can stamp on certain types of media or surfaces out there, but you just have to find the compatible media with it, and it really might open up some good doors for you. So, you know, the inks that can stamp on multiple types of surfaces, your StazOn, your solvent inks, or something like that. In this case, I used a lot of the Brilliance inks on this one, but the StazOn would have done very well for all of the imagery up here as well. I would just have to clean it much better afterwards. But yeah, and then like stamping over the top of that, all that really thick layer of kind of wax buildup from those colored pencils down there. Worked out a little bit, but they could have worked out a little bit better. So I just applied the Brilliance ink down here to make that a little bit darker too. And I think I needed to with the Brilliance ink because now see that water's edge? It kind of looks like it slopes a little bit more, having that darker area right down here. I mean, this looks okay too. You know what I mean? But it looks like this. There's no shadow base here. I mean, the reeds helps it a little bit like that, but I think that would have been better if that was in shadowed in. That looks a little busy like that when it's reflected like that, but I don't know. I can use a little bit more tone around this one too. Now that I look at it, a little bit more of a vignette down here around those reeds. It's a little bit busy right in here. Maybe I'll do that. Like I said, I wasn't quite sure if I was done with this one or not. I might, you know, put something in there, or I don't know, some birds or something like that. I don't know. I don't think I want to do that one on that one.